Okay, why? The reason is that so it actually lacks a clear definition of what constitutes an attack. Okay, like definitely like what kind of attacks we're seeing, and also gathering gathering the data for this matrix can be time consuming. Okay, because and this also this matrix is like is kind of vague. It doesn't provide any kind of actionable insight to the leadership. So if we just say that okay, in the month of May we rather than kind of investing time in kind of implementing the good metrics section, let's say we implemented a matrix where we say the leadership, okay, let's say we logged 200 attacks for your company in the month of May. Okay, so this won't give any idea to the leadership. The leadership would want to know that okay, what kind of attacks you block, what was the severity of that attack factor. Okay, what were the attack factors by which attacker came in? Was it malware, or was it something the attacker came in by compromised credentials? So there is no kind of information available in that matter. It just says account and by month. Okay, so these are something which is kind of bad practice, where the which is kind of not repeatable, which is not kind of actionable, and which is really hard to kind of collect. Okay, so that's the thing. So that's a kind of a good kind of a quick discussion about what the metrics mean and why it is important, and kind of what's the difference between a good and a bad metrics. Okay, so that's all for the matrix part, and why how the matrix can kind of help us and kind of stay funded. So now I will kind of take any questions guys you would have in this section. And I hope I'm audible this time. I don't see any hand raised, so I hope every audio is kind of working fine this time. And let me know if you guys have any questions for this section, or else let's take a 1 minute break. I'll kind of quickly grab some water, and then we will kind of quickly start covering the last part of this section, which is understanding your enemies. Okay. Okay, so I treat the silence as no questions. So I'm now taking a 1 minute break, and I'll quickly come back. Okay, guys. So now let's resume our discussion. And now we'll be kind of discussing about kind of understanding our enemies. Okay, whom we are trying to protect our company from, and what the reason is that understanding the enemy is that the more you understand the enemies, the more you will know that how better we should be, or how better we are in kind of defending the organization from those kind of attackers. Okay, so give me 1 minute, 1 moment. So the first thing that I like to say, like before starting this section, is that we need to kind of understand why we are kind of discussing. We had this section, which is understanding the enemy, because to kind of, as I told, to put up a strong defense, we must kind of understand the enemy. So there are certain kind of things that we need to kind of know. Is that if we know the attacker, okay, and we also now know ourselves that okay, let's say what's our capabilities are, where the things we are good at, and where the things we are bad at. It will actually kind of knowing this both of the thing will actually help us in kind of better handling any kind of incidents going forward. So if we know that okay, we are, let's say, very good at kind of detecting the phishing based email, we will definitely kind of understand that okay, we can kind of, we need not worry about that, and we can kind of defend our organization from those kind of attacks. But let's say we are not good at kind of detecting any ransomware attack, for example. Okay, so in that case, what we need to do, and we also know that there are different kind of attackers who are kind of who will kind of target our organization with those kind of attack vectors, which is like ransomware. So thing is that we will know that okay, since we are not that good in kind of protecting the company from the ransomware, we will come with certain different kind of ways to kind of either mitigate those kind of attacks, or kind of understand okay, how we can kind of protect our system from those, like let's say the crown jewels systems from those kind of attacks. Whereas like if there are other systems which might have got attacked, we accept the risk at that kind of moment. Okay, let's say there's the HR system that got ransomware, we take a risk. Okay, that's fine. We just if that thing happened, what we will do is that we will just kind of reimage the system. Okay, and but we try to kind of protect our research wing. We try to make it air gap, so that there's no direct communication between internet and, let's say, the company, the research team systems. Okay, so knowing the enemy and knowing ourselves, we can kind of better defend. But what happen is that if but if we just know ourselves, okay, how good are we, but we don't know about the enemy. So thing is that even though we would win, even though we'll win a kind of, we will able to kind of close the incident, but there will be a high chance where kind of we will be kind of defeated, where we will kind of not know what kind of capabilities the enemy has, and we would have no idea that they are already inside the system, and there will be a high chances of kind of getting defeated in kind of protecting the company. And the other last reason is that if we don't know ourselves, like what's our capabilities, what the good and bad points, if we don't know that, and we also don't know what our enemy is, in that case, uh, there's there's a chance where every incident that comes to our organization, we are not able to kind of protect that. Okay, so that's why we need to be in the first reason, where we know ourselves as well as we know the enemy. Okay, that's where we can say that okay, we can, with a high confidence, we can protect the company from at least, let's say, 90% of the attack coming in. Okay, it can't kind of always 100%. Okay, so let's kind of continue with that discussion. And one of the points I'd like to discuss is like who attacking us. So well, who are the kind of entities who are kind of attacking our organization? Okay, so let's go to that, and let me see. Okay, so let me kind of do something. I'll start over here. So one of the things that you would normally see, the most sophisticated attackers are actually which are kind of government funded. Okay, government funded, and then there are like organized crime groups. Okay, so let me quickly go to that. Okay, so in the actually the complex world of cyber attacks, there are kind of multiple groups responsible to kind of initiate those kind of attacks. Okay, so it is actually kind of crucial to understand who are behind this attack. So the first thing, so there are two prominent groups actually from where there's a massive kind of cyber attacks coming into any kind of organization. And the two prominent group are, one is like government entities, backed entities or government funded groups, and the other is organized crime syndicates. Okay, so let's talk first about the government funded. Okay, so the government funded ones are like, let's say, who may not be the most prolific in terms of the number of attack, like their attacks might be really low. Okay, but thing is like, let's say we see, let's say one of the example is like the solar